this is a stoichiometry problem because I can see that I'm dealing with the amounts of reactants in products. I'm going to start kind of looking at my numbers and sorting them out. I have an amount of aluminum chloride that is reacting or being used. I shouldn't say it's all reacting. It may not all react depending on if it's the limiting or excess reagent. I also have an amount of silver nitrate. Okay, so it looks like I have the amounts of two different reactants, which means that I will have a limiting and excess reagent. In other words, to predict the amount of product, I'm going to have to do the calculation twice and see which one predicts the lesser amount of product. The next one, it looks like I already have the amount of product. But you see that this is not calculated. This was not done. We didn't get this number by calculating from the amounts. This is how much the chemist actually got in the lab. So this is an actual yield. And then just problem solving skills. We're supposed to find the percent yield. And percent yield is actual over theoretical times 100. So we have the actual. We need to get the theoretical yield. And the theoretical yield is the what you get when you calculate using stoichiometry. So let's start with our stoichiometry, and we're going to predict how much of the silver chloride that we could get. And notice when we come up with that theoretical yield, it would be good if it's in grams, because to do that percent we need to have the actual and theoretical in the same units, so we can't just stop at moles. So I'm going to look for how many grams of silver chloride. Now, since I have the amounts of two different reactants, I'm going to have to do all of the calculations twice. In other words, I'm going to start with each of the reactants and go through all of the steps to predict how much silver chloride could be made. I'm going to talk through this top one and my reasoning. So I'm starting with 225 grams of silver nitrate. The first step in stoichiometry is to go from grams to moles. And I do that by using the molar mass. So the molar mass of silver nitrate was given to me. Remember that with molar mass, the number goes with the G, goes with the grams. Okay, next, once you get to moles, and I pointed this out before, it's when you write these down, you really should be writing down what substance they are, because if you don't, you can mess up where the numbers go. We're going to have moles of two different substances in here, so I need to make sure that I've got them straight. So once I get to moles, which I am now, I can switch substances. In other words, I can go to moles of the silver chloride that I'm interested in. And where I get these numbers is from the coefficients and the balanced chemical equation. So let's go up here and look. So a lot of A's and G's. Silver nitrate has a 3. And silver chloride has a 3. Okay, and like I said, since our actual yield is in grams, we're going to convert all the way to grams with this so that we can get the percent. And where do we get these numbers? They're from the molar mass of the silver chloride, which we were given. and I'm marking the sig figs that really only has 3 sig figs. Okay, so that's the first predicted yield, but remember this is not our answer. We need to do the same thing starting with the aluminum chloride and get its number, and I'm going to skip ahead to that. So I did all of that using the same steps, just for the aluminum chloride, and it had different coefficients and everything. So I got my other answer. And then I need to know what the theoretical yield is, because percent yield is actual over theoretical, and the theoretical yield is one of these two numbers. And what we do is we choose the lower one. The lower one is the theoretical yield. So I'm going to cross this one out. This is our theoretical yield. And let's go ahead and answer a couple other questions while we're here before we do our percent. What is the limiting reagent? And so the limiting reagent is the one that predicted the lower amount of product. So the one that predicted the lower amount of product is the silver nitrate. And when I ask the reagent, I'm asking about the substance. I'm not asking about the amount of it. So my answer there is silver nitrate. And my excess reagent is the aluminum chloride. Now let's go to the question that was asked. We were asked to find percent yield. And that is actual, which should be the smaller number, over theoretical, times 100. And so our actual, what is given in the problem statement, and the theoretical is what we got right here, the 189.9. And this is why I didn't want to round off there, because I knew I would do another step. And so I was just trying not to round twice before the very end. And I get 97.4% yield.